Okay, so let's go into a little bit of our planning and design stage here. So as I said, I am using my friend's cat Moo as a subject, and I'm going to quickly sketch in the base that I have created. These do not need to be super detailed. You just want to give yourself kind of a plan. So I know I have my coils down here, my base. Okay, so I want to see where I'm going to go next here. Let's see what I'm doing. Oh, I've got a few pictures of my friend's kitty here. She's got these super cute round cheeks here, eyes that are real close set together, and a tiny little nose and mouth, and markings that are really graphic, in a graphic design sense. So I'm going to try to think of how to break these shapes down, create them into clay, and to plan on how I'm going to kind of finish off the top there. And we can also think a little bit about color when we get to that point. So first I'm going to draw a line down the center so we can see that our piece is, that our drawing is going to be even, because we've got basically a symmetrical kitty face here. So I think for the round cheeks here, instead of just doing straight across coils the way we've been doing, I'm going to create two circles out of coils. I will show you how to roll those. And I will puff those out to give them some volume before I attach those to the base here. Okay, so if we just had these coils like this hanging out there and left this empty, this wouldn't give these pieces anything to be braced onto, and it'd be very fragile and delicate to try to build on top of there. So I think I'm going to fill in this space with coils that are short. And we'll fill up this little space here at an angle and also brace underneath our circular shapes here. Okay, so for her little kitty nose, probably just create one shape out of clay here and slip that in there. Then I'll have a couple other coils that come up beside like this. Okay. And this, of course, can be subject to change as you get in there. Your plan will change. The clay will be a little different than what you think it might be. We can make smaller coils and fold them into an elliptical shape. And slip those on there. You can put smaller beads of solid clay inside there. And then from here, I can have longer coils that reach back from her nose and kind of curve back, following the curve of her forehead, going back that way. Let's see. So then we can make some nice coils. Come over in these arch shapes around her eyes. You see, this is really using the coil technique to not just build the structure, but also include the line of them as part of your design. Let's see. You can finish things off with some straight coils. We'll just lean over the curves there. And on the sides here, I can start where our curves end and go around the back and just have coils that strap around the back end there. Okay. And I really love the way her ears look in this picture where they're flattened out a little. So I can make those separately out of coils and slip those on. Okay. So coils are really quite versatile. And some people kind of resist working with this process just because it seems very basic and like you won't use it a lot later on, but it is really good to train yourself how to fill up space with an additive method and give yourself a good sense of design. Okay, so we know that this part of her face is going to be a little darker when we glaze it. So half of this round coil might be dark, and the other half can be glazed white. Okay. So planning all of this before you even fire your piece makes it really really prevents kind of artist block later on when you get your bland looking bisque piece out of the kiln. Clay is so tactile and a pleasure to use when it's wet, and then when you get your bisque piece out of the kiln, it's so different looking. Sometimes it can feel a little alienating, at least it does to me. And if you've got yourself a little foundation of where you're going to start on the design, I find that it's really a lot easier to finish pieces. Okay, I think we've got enough to get started there. We'll put that to the side. We'll have that as our reference plan. Okay. So I've waited enough time that the clay has stiffened up just a bit, so it's still flexible, but it's no longer going to collapse if I add more clay on there. Okay, so you can decide what is going to be the front and what is going to be the back. The back of her head is a little flatter and it's going to curve in a different way. So I want to see. I'll pull this front piece out a little more. This will be the front. So when you're making coils into shapes, you want to make sure your clay is probably a little fresher and moister. I have some clay that I recycled, so this is really soft. It's almost like Play-Doh. If you have clay that feels a little stiff, it's just starting to get leather hard, you can wrap it in a wet towel and put it back in your plastic bag or into a Tupperware, and it really softens it up quickly. Like within the next day, it will be super soft. You can just wedge it up and be able to use it. Okay, so we'll just quickly roll out our coil here. Give myself a little room. Remember, all the way forward, all the way back. We want these to be more flexible because I'm going to be bending them more. Remember, if they break, that's okay. We've got 2 coils. Just want to make sure they're more or less a consistent thickness. You don't have pieces that are super skinny in one area and really fat in another area. So sometimes I go back when I've got a few and just refine them so I can see that they're all more or less similar proportions. So we've got coils that are like this, coils that are super skinny like spaghetti. When you're trying to build things that look consistent, it's going to have a really strange look, and pieces of the facade will pop out. Other pieces will sink and be crushed under heavier pieces. So if you have your coils a consistent thickness, it's going to really help your construction and look a lot better. Okay. There we go. So to make our kind of snail Danish shapes here. I'm going to go on here and slip. I want these to be about the same size, so I've got two coils of a similar length. I may not need the entire length of it, but I wanted to give myself enough so I get a large circle when I coil these into each other. Okay. So start at one end and pinch this upwards and into itself. So the end of the coil rolls into the top, and just gently press as you're turning your coil. Okay. Try to keep it even. Oops. There we go. Yeah, it's a good size. It's about what I wanted. Smooth that down a little bit. Okay. But don't do so much smoothing that you lose the line of your coil there. I'm going to do the second one. This should be about the same diameter as the other. Okay, perfect. Okay. Go ahead. I want these to be kind of popped out a little bit because I want it to look like the curve of her cheek. So I'm going to take this from behind, push that forward and make a little depression. It's like a little dish. Okay. There we go. Do the same to this one. Okay. Get them so they're about the same. Nice and symmetrical. Okay. We'll come over here. Before I get the slip in, let's see where we want to put these. Okay, I think we're right. Right here. And bring them in a little closer, like that. Yeah, that'll be good. Let's make sure that they are even. One is in a little further than the other one. Come in a little more. There we go. I'll tilt those just a little bit. Okay, good. So now I can slip those on there. I'm just going to slip underneath here. Slip there. Put that to the side for now. Okay. Make sure you're slipping where you're going to put them. So even though that is going to stick there with the slipping and the scoring, when you have fragile pieces like this that don't grip across the entire surface of their outside coil, we're going to cheat and put a little band-aid on the back here. Take some fresh clay. I'm going to take a piece here, just press it out flat. Right there between the coil shape and the coil that's using to support it. I'm going to use this little band-aid piece. It's going to brace those together as they dry. Even though they seem really sticky now, as they dry, this joint's going to get more fragile. So I am just going to cheat and reinforce that, and no one is ever going to know that's in there. As you go on in ceramics, you will learn all kinds of hacks to make things work. And anything is fine as long as you can get away with it.